Welcome to the ROI Puzzle. I'm Nicole Sterling from Sterling Marketing. On this show, I sit down with leaders in B2B tech to untangle the numbers behind great marketing. Today, we're joined by Harry Peters from Hudl, the leader in sports technology, video analysis, and data. And today, he'll be sharing how his experiences shape the way he leads, stays focused, and keeps showing up both at work and at home. But first, if your leads are dropping off somewhere between marketing and revenue and you can't pinpoint where because your teams aren't aligned and attribution isn't actually tracking the real buyer journey, you're not alone. At Sterling Marketing, we generate over $7 million in pipeline for B2B tech companies in 12 months with a campaign engine built to close, not just engage. And I've created something specifically for marketing and sales leaders who need to diagnose what's broken fast. It's called the Pipeline Acceleration Roadmap, a 60-minute strategy session where I'll audit your funnel with you, map out a visual diagram of exactly where your leads are getting stuck, and send you a prioritized action plan you can take straight to your CEO or CRO. If you want to finally pinpoint why your leads aren't converting to pipeline and get a clear roadmap to fix it, book your free Pipeline Acceleration Roadmap at sterlingmarketing.net/roadmap. And now I'm excited to be joined by Harry Peters. So Harry has spent nearly a decade at Hudl, most recently leading sales and customer success across some of the most diverse markets in APAC, from Southeast Asia to Korea and China. He brings a unique blend of sports operations experience from his Waratah days, deep SaaS expertise, and a calm, methodical leadership style shaped by years of working across cultures and maturity levels. He's also a two-time Sydney Marathon finisher and a dad to a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old, which means he understands endurance, resilience, and the reality of balancing big goals with very small human beings. Today, he joins us to share how those experiences shape the way he leads, stays focused, and keeps showing up, both at work and at home. So thank you for joining the show, Harry.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing. Now, I did touch a little bit on who you are and what you do in the introduction, but could you share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture at Hudl?
Yeah, for sure. So my official title is Regional Director for Southeast Asia, China, and Korea here at Hudl. So I manage a team of account executives and customer success managers, focusing both on the retention of our business across the region, but then also the growth, so landing new logos and expanding current customers. So I am one of 3 pods across APAC. So we also have a Japan team and then also Oceania team. And then that, of course, rolls up to the global Hudl company.
Amazing. So obviously we've touched on the fact that you have spent years working across Southeast Asia, Korea, China, Australia, and the UK. I'm curious though, how has that cross-market experience shaped the way you lead teams and think about growth in APAC?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think feel very lucky and very privileged to have spent so much time in so many different markets, all in one company. So I think the one thing that sticks out to me is being adaptable and being willing to change approaches based on the market. So of course, we get given a general direction by Hudl and how to grow. But I think the biggest impact comes when you are flexible and you can be adaptable depending on the market that you're in. So I do think the small tweaks that you can apply to each market often have the biggest impact. So that could be tweaks in pricing, that could be tweaks in online selling versus in-person selling, how much education's needed before going into the sell, the importance of relationships versus just going in there and selling. There's many different, aspects to different markets, and they all have their nuances. So yeah, I think being adaptable, being willing to change the approach is key for getting success in different markets.
Amazing. Now you are leading regional teams while also raising a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. So I'm curious to hear how becoming a parent has changed your leadership style, your priorities, or just the way you manage energy and focus.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I became a dad 3.5 years ago, and then 3 days later, I officially became a manager. So it was a bit of a crazy time. But I guess what parenting has taught me is around energy and balancing time is to be very clear on priorities and boundaries. I think Um, any parent will tell you that having children is life-changing, not only from a time management perspective, but definitely from a priority standpoint as well. So setting boundaries, not only with myself, but also with the people I work with, is key. I think one example that comes to mind is I try and get all my meetings done by 5 p.m. So I can pick up my oldest son from daycare every day and then get home, do dinner, do bedtimes, and then of course jump back online if I have to. Um, that can be difficult, especially managing Asia. That can be 2 p.m. some days. But I think having those clear boundaries and setting expectations helps with that. And then not trying to do everything at once. I think when you're trying to pair and then you're trying to work at the same time, you often end up doing not a good job at either. So yeah, locking into certain aspects, whether it's work or parenting or even personal time, I think is super important.
Amazing. So I'm curious then, let's detour to the topic a little bit. So global case studies don't always land in every region, and you cover quite a number of countries. What's your fastest way to build local proof and credibility when you're entering or expanding into new markets?
I think when it comes to case studies and anything marketing related, I do think it has to be relatable for whoever's reading it. I do think um, there's no point in sharing success stories from bigger organizations or markets overseas with lots more money because they just don't resonate with an emerging market. So I'll take Southeast Asia, for example. If there is a Cambodian football club, they may be interested in what a Manchester City or a Manchester United is doing with Hudl, but it's not going to resonate with them enough to change. So I do think relatability when the user is reading a case study or seeing an ad is super important, because they can see themselves in there, and then that will ultimately force behavioral change. So that's one. The second one seems very obvious, but I think I should say it anyway, is language. I think if you're pushing out English case studies or English marketing in South Korea or China, you might have a little bit of success, but again, it's not going to hit as well as it could if it's localized. So that one seems very obvious, but I've definitely seen examples where it hasn't even been thought of. So I thought I'd add it in there.
It's an important one to consider. I've seen lots of examples over my too many years in marketing of emails going at the wrong time zone for the region the email's going into, for talking about fall when it's not fall, when it's not summer, when it's winter. And even when it's not talking about those seasons, it's the photography that might be used. People wearing sweatshirts and jumpers on ski fields is not appropriate when it's the middle of a hot summer in Australia, for example.
So and I think it's definitely the small things that maybe seem small, but I do think if you can get them right, they do have something in the human psychology that, as I said, gets the person who's reading it to feel a part of that story, and then of course engage with sales ideally.
Agreed. Okay, so then if you could solve one challenge across your whole region instantly, and it could be adoption, it could be education, it might be scalability, or it could be just something completely different to those, what would that one challenge be?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in emerging markets, there's many challenges, so I'll do my best to pick one. I'll go with education. I do think where we're on in our journey at the moment, that seems to be the biggest sticking point. And for me, it's education across all people at organizations. So if we take Hudl, for example, often our end users are performance analysts or coaches, even players. So I think the education there is important on why they should be using Hudl or why they should be using performance analysis tools. But then it goes all the way up to CEOs, CFOs, board members who ultimately sign off on it as well. And we often trip up at that stage at the moment in emerging markets because the decision makers and the people who hold the money aren't educated in the sense of why they should be investing in tools like this. So often they see it as another line item to their very long expense sheet, rather than a return on investment. So yeah, I do think education on, at least for Hudl, on why performance analysis, it would be the one thing I would fix immediately, and then I think everything else would flow on from that.
Amazing. And I've got one last question for you, just seeking your advice for those who are juggling young children with a sales or executive role. Have you got any advice for them?
I think maybe not advice, but my I guess message to anyone juggling parenthood at any stage in jobs is you're probably doing very, very well. I and I want to say that I think it's tough to, or I find it personally tough to feel like I'm getting ahead in either way. I think if you focus too much on work, you start to feel guilty about family, and then if you focus too much on family, you start to feel guilty about work. So I think taking a moment, I think reflecting, you're probably doing a very, very good job, and just know that, and keep getting through it, would be my message. So it's busy, but it's fulfilling at the same time.
Amazing. I love that. And that is a great last piece of advice. So I'm going to say that's a wrap for the ROI puzzle for today. A huge, huge thank you to our guests. I really appreciate the insights that you have shared. And I'm assuming our listeners can find you on LinkedIn is the best place to reach you.
Yes, for sure. Just Harry Peters at Hudl, Hudl, and yeah, flick me a connection request or a message, and would love to connect.
Amazing. So thank you for that. And if you're a B2B tech company struggling with leads that aren't converting to pipeline, grab your free pipeline acceleration roadmap at sterlingmarketing.net/roadmap, and I'll show you exactly where your funnel is broken and how to fix it fast. And if you would like to share your own story on the show, head to sterlingmarketing.net and apply under the Let's Chat section on the bottom of the website. This is Nicole Sterling, helping you solve the ROI puzzle one conversation at a time.